It hurts, man. It hurts. I mean, I know this team overachieved. I know this team exceeded expectations. They took care of business, but man, they should have won that series. That was a very winnable series, and they let multiple games get away from them. Obviously, lost all 3 at home, and that's just a tough way to get sent home in the first round. But hats off to them for doing what they did. The biggest turnaround in the history of the NBA. First team ever to triple their win total. Getting that 6th seed. Winning 2 games on the road in the playoffs is not an easy feat. Sucks. But on to baseball season. I know Easy's happy for that.
Fucking awesome, dude. Cannot wait to talk baseball every day, to go deep into every single game like Javi did last night. But no, last night, I'm the opposite, Smitty. I'm proud of this team. I really am. From the 14 wins last season to what we saw this year was amazing. For the amount of belief that we had in Cade Cunningham that hadn't really come to fruition outside of a few statistical points was amazing. My point on the whole Jaden Ivey stuff was proven amazing. I'm happy.
That's terrible.
I'm proud of this team.
Horrible.
I really am. Like, I try to set proper expectations even before the series began. And I do agree with you. It felt like a winnable series, especially if you had Isaiah Stewart there. Obviously, the Game 4 situation happened as well. Better than the day, we knew what it came down to. It was the inexperience, and it was a lump that Cade needs to develop his career.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
The guy is in his rookie contract. You know, like Cade Cunningham is still on his rookie contract. This is the last year of his rookie contract. So he's young. He's got a lot of time to grow. Obviously, does he need to get better? Yes, that is very apparent. And I think that these are the type of experiences that bode well for a player like Cade Cunningham. You look at the history of the NBA, players go through this. This is natural progression. I've said it before. I've shown you the examples with all of the guys you want to name in NBA playoffs. They all have had their moments of struggle, and this is just a stepping stone to rising to the top. The people that had to be better in this series for them to win this winnable series was Jalen Duren, was Asar, was Cade Cunningham. It was everybody, the shooters. Like, everybody did not sell their role. And with this team just not having the offensive firepower to match the Knicks, they were just tasking their defense with way too much. I mean, they couldn't have a 30-point quarter. That was the difference. And they had one in the first quarter of this game. That costed them. There's a lot of stuff we'll get into, but yeah, overall, you got to be proud of the team. Absolutely. Does it suck? Does it sting? As somebody that went to 2 of the 3 home games, yes, it fucking stings. But, you know, you can't not be proud.
People are attacking me in the comments here because I said we were going to win this game, and they should have won the game. That is the hard truth. Everybody needs to hear it. Honestly, everybody. The expectations change once you are in the series and you're in the thick of it. I thought game 1, that was when, you know, we could celebrate. We're here again. You know, this is fun. This is playoff basketball. This is the way it should be around Detroit. But the fact of the matter is, this team choked multiple games in the series, and what pisses me off is they choked last night the same way that they did in game 4. That's what pisses me off. They didn't learn from their mistakes, fellas. That is going to be big moving forward in years to come. That's what really aggravates me about it. It's okay to have expectations. We should have expectations. We should have won the series. Flat out, full stop. They choked 2 games at home away. One of them was a terrible call, but you shouldn't even have been that close. Last night, choked it away again. Up 7 with 2 minutes left, and you lose the game.
That's where the inexperience comes in. That's when, like, your expectations were incorrect. Like they have the better team. Yeah. They showed out. Jalen Brunson is top 3 point guard in the game right now.
Did they choke or did they choke?
No, we got outplayed.
No. And you know what? What I'll say we didn't choke, the reason I'll say it is because you saw this offense and how bad it is. It's going to go through stretches when you don't have Duren getting the lobs, Beasley getting the threes. Those were the number 1 and 2 connections in the NBA. The number 1 dunk connection was Jalen Duren. The number 1 3-point shooting connection was Malik Beasley. That was a huge part of your offense, and those were not there all series. Credit to Tom Thibodeau and the way he schemed this team, but the situation was like this defense was on borrowed time. Like you were just resting on your defense. So I can't quite say they choked. It looks like it because they didn't play well at the closeout, but I think that's just a product of this offense. We saw it all through the series. This offense is so bad.
I could say they choked. You were up 7 with 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left?
Yeah, it was like 2:20.
You choked that game away. The 2 reasons why you lost that game was 1, Cade wasn't good enough coming down the stretch. I love Cade Cunningham.
Fact.
You guys know that. He needs to be better. He will. This isn't all he is. He'll get better. He'll learn from it. He'll grow. But that's why he lost. He wasn't good enough down the stretch. He needed to score a couple buckets. And when JB took out Asar Thompson, those are the 2 reasons that you lost that game.
Yes, that was
And
huge.
you choked it away. You should have won that game. The series, say what you want. You should have won that game last night.
But see, that's part of my point. Like, I don't want to fully disagree with what you're saying because yes, you should win a game up 2 minutes.
Sitting where you live, Chris.
No, but that's a point that you're proving my point when you talk about the Asar sub because that's a defense for offense sub that JB Bickerstaff made.
No, that was the wrong move. That was the wrong move.
Yes,
it's on the sheet.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let me finish. That was the bad move that costed us, but that also shows that this team wins on defense because without Ivy, without Malik Beasley and Jalen Duren playing the level they were offensively in the regular season, this team was just not equipped offensively. This was not a playoff caliber offense. It just wasn't.
It was because they were there and they were in every single game. So you can't say, oh, they weren't good enough. They weren't playoff caliber. Yes, they were. They were there to win every game. The offense was there to win every game. You didn't make the plays down the stretch to win. You choked, especially in that last game.
But that's what he's saying. You weren't equipped for like that half-court, 7-game series with a team that's much more talented than you, with a lot of your main core pieces, this being their first taste and experience of this type of caliber of games. We weren't equipped. The expectation, you guys had the wrong expectations going into the series from the get. You're talking Eastern Conference Finals, let's live through a series first.
I didn't think they were going to make the conference finals easy. But when you lose 3 home games by a combined 6 points, it's not because you're not good enough or not ready there. It's because you didn't make the correct plays coming down the stretch to win games.
But one game I could blame on referees. It's because you're not good enough. Yeah. You fucked up in those games. For those situations to go down the way they did, they fucked up.
Because you didn't make the right plays.
They weren't exactly.
But
they weren't good enough. They didn't rise to the moment.
Is Cade not good enough? They weren't ready. Is he not good enough to hit the shots that he missed?
Clearly not, Spinny, because he didn't.
Okay, well, I think he's good enough to do that. I think he's a good enough player to make those shots. He didn't. That's choking in my mind.
I think he'll grow from this moment.
He's going to learn from it. He's going to get better. But that's what it has to. You were good enough. You had the opportunities. Even last night, JB Bickerstaff drew up a perfect play to get a wide open 3 to the second best 3-point shooter in the league. And what happened? He choked it and dropped the ball out of bounds. You were good enough. You were well equipped. You were beating a better team for a majority of the series. You didn't make the crunch time plays. You didn't make the plays down the stretch. That's not being good enough. That's choking late.
They weren't good enough.
Which they choked
I know it hurts to hear. It's the truth of the matter.
That doesn't make them not good enough, bro.
They weren't good enough.
It doesn't make them not good enough.
Straight up.
They were the better team in the series.
They lost, Jerry. How can you say that? Yeah. They lost.
It doesn't
4
matter.
games to 2. You can't say they're the better team in the series.
They can rock with them, bro. That doesn't mean they're not good enough.
They were not good enough. They lost 4 games to 2. At the end of the day, they were not good enough. They allowed Jalen Brunson to rub his nuts all over them in the fourth quarter of every single game, seemingly. They were not good enough. It's okay to say, guys.
No, you had the opportunity to win those games, and you failed.
Yeah, but
you're not good enough.
Not being good enough is getting swept.
That's like if you're an athlete, that's the reality of the answer. I didn't choke. I wasn't good enough. I didn't execute enough.
They did choke.
I have to go and practice more. I have to be better because I was not good enough.
Not being good enough is getting blown out. Not being good enough is getting swept.
No, it's not. Not being good enough is losing. JB Bickerstaff made mistakes. You want to know why? Because he was not good enough. He wasn't good enough in that situation. They have to grow from this situation.
No, he made.
They had to rise from this.
That's
because they weren't good enough. You gotta execute. You gotta practice that shit to a T.
No, you have to not take
That's
the
making
Thompson out of the
excuses.
game.
Like, I choked it away. That's what happened. No, I gotta fucking bust my ass and work harder. I gotta fucking get better at catching the ball off screen.
If you have open shots,
I gotta get better at shooting, making these goddamn threes.
So the Knicks are that much better than the Pistons. You watch the entire series.
It's not that much better situation. The whole thing is they weren't good enough. They did not rise to the occasion.
Okay, so the 73-9 Warriors weren't good enough to get to the finals. Like that's basically what you're saying because they
get to the finals?
They weren't good enough to get there.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Warriors. The
What Warriors?
73-9 Warriors.
Did they go to the finals?
They weren't good enough to win the
They
championship.
lost 3-1.
Did they went to the finals? They were good enough to get the finals.
They lost.
Well, they weren't
3-1
good
though.
enough to win the championship.
When they got injured?
No,
When Kevin Durant got hurt?
No, when
No,
LeBron came back 3-1.
Then
That's
yes,
what I'm
they
saying,
weren't
bro.
good enough.
You can choke series. You can choke these types of things
Like
and
that,
be good
like,
enough.
guys,
That
I don't
was a
understand where you're
choking.
at with this one.
I just
Like
don't
that's
think-
how you
I
have.
don't
That's what it
think you
is.
can put-
Straight up,
look at these-
you weren't good enough in that
They
opportunity.
were good enough. They were in all of these games. They choked down the stretch.
You're good enough to be in the game, but obviously you didn't win. You weren't good enough. You didn't
'Cause
rise to
you
the
choked down
occasion.
the
You gotta
stretch.
go harder. That's
Yes.
Exact. That's my fucking
At the
point.
end of the game, you need to make winning plays.
Get
and they
better.
didn't. That's not
Execute
being not
better.
good enough.
That
It's
is not being
choking.
good enough.
It's choking.
Easy. This team was
not being good
favored
enough.
at home going into yesterday's. Being not
By a
good enough.
point.
I don't want to hear
Ridiculous.
that.
Before the tip-off even went, fucking New York went minus 102.
I saw -1.5 all day yesterday, but I got to say this. This team choked 2 games in the series at home.
Yes.
They had big leads in the fourth quarter late, which they ended up blowing both games. That's a choke job through and through.
not
This team was
second
hanging
down.
with the
It is a
Knicks
choke job.
all
It's an
series
excuse. That's
long,
what it
and they
is.
blew 2 games at home when they had the lead late in the fourth.
It's an absolute
think
excuse. You know what happens? This happens to Jordan. This happens to LeBron. You know what happens?
I'm
They
not
work.
saying
Listen. This happens to every single great player along the way. They have that first playoff series, that first playoff run. It gets cut short. You know what happens the following year? When they pursue through and they make it to the finals,
improve.
yes, they got better.
Yeah.
They make the improvements because they weren't good enough the first time through,
And that's
they
what I'm
learned
saying.
from those mistakes.
This team was good enough to beat the Knicks. They choked. This wasn't some team that ran into insurmountable odds on a team that was obviously that much better than them. That's not what this series was. And if that's what
crazy.
you saw, whatever. That's not what I saw. I saw a team that was extremely beatable, and you lost.
That part's
and that's
true.
fine. You're going to learn from that. You're going to improve your clutch time situations. But right now, you should have won that game. You were just as good as the Knicks, and you didn't. You choked.
But
You're up 7 with 2 minutes left. You lose the game. That's choking.
Yeah,
I think though there's just two sides of the ball though at the end of the day. Like I'm not saying that the offense wasn't bad down the stretch, but I'm also saying that like there's both sides of the coin here, and defense is this team's identity. So like this team is winning their games. The games they won in this series were the lower scoring games. Why? Because this is a defense team. The offense wasn't at the caliber it needed to be. Now that's not saying that they can't win this series. That's not saying that they didn't have some bad stretches.
But they need to
at
be
the end of
better.
Game, but they win their games off defense. Last year the Lions won their games off of offense. That's what this Pistons team was at the end of it. Once you lost Ivy,
Yeah, and you
once
held
the
Karl
shooters-
Anthony Towns to 10 points, and he fouled out. That's great defense. You
Yeah.
didn't make the shots down the stretch to win the game, period.
I just can't
You
put
let
it
up.
all
You
on
let
that.
up bad rebounds. That is choking.
It's a choke.
I can't
It's
put it all on
literally
that because
that
if
game
Asar
was.
stops Brunson, who knows what happens that play? If Asar plays the great defense that he's been playing on Brunson all series, just one more play, maybe things are
Yeah,
different.
so why'd you take
Like,
him out? That's a bad decision by JB
I'm
Bickerstaff.
not
He
disagreeing
needs
with
to be
that.
better.
He can't do that.
I'm not disagreeing
that
with that.
moment,
I was going to
he
bring
wasn't
that
good.
up.
And that's like saying,
terrible.
okay,
That was a
he's
terrible
not good
coaching
enough,
decision.
but he guarded him. Granted, he had 40, and that last play he slipped up.
Yeah.
You're still gonna say he's not good enough to play defense that whole series?
Yeah, there's-
It's not a conversation of he's not good enough to be on the
It's a
court.
choke.
He's
But
not
that's
good
what
enough to
you're
beat that
saying.
team.
That's what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying, Jerry. 100% correct.
There
Yes,
are
they weren't
teams
good
that are
enough.
more-
They got to be better. They have to execute better. You were sitting on the couch next to me earlier today. Who was I texting? National NBA champion Lindsey Hunter.
Yeah.
Asar Thompson had a conversation. Wasn't good enough.
There is no
It
point.
was too
in my-
high. He wasn't low enough in the last play. He fucked up.
There is no point when I was watching this series where I thought the Pistons were not good enough to beat the Knicks. That
100%.
never crossed my mind ever watching this series.
Well, then
They didn't make the
There
shots.
are teams that are more playoff equipped that are out of the playoffs already. Like that, we
They
proved
didn't
that
play
we're good
good
enough to
enough.
be there because we fought the whole time.
Like, I don't understand. It's very, very simple. We see it time after time again. Just the way I explained it with like the Jordan's first series. LeBron, every time they lose, they have to come back and be better. They're always like up from there. You want to know why? Because they got better.
Yeah,
they
there's
improved.
a difference between
the team,
getting
the
better.
coaching,
There's a difference
all the
between
above.
getting better
There's
and not
no
being good
difference.
enough.
It's the same
There
exact
is- there
thing.
is a
You're in your
difference,
feelings. I love you guys. I love this team too.
just-
But you're in
Easy.
your
I
feelings
just
about
went through the
it.
plays.
Nobody's
This
in
is
their
what
feelings,
happened.
dude.
Nobody is in their feelings. You just have to look at it for what it truly is.
You're
You're giving
not
this
looking-
team
You're
excuses
making
right now.
excuses for your
You're
team.
making
You're telling me
excuses.
they were good enough. They lost the series 4-2.
Listen, this is what happened when we were up 7
Yeah.
with 2:37. Shot clock violation
On who?
into a Duran turnover, into a Schroeder
So,
three,
Nick, so
and
a
missed
Duran
three.
Turnover-
That's
That's you
choking.
not
Wait,
executing.
2
That's him not
turnovers
executing.
Back to back.
That's not him being good enough.
That's choking, Easy.
Listen.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
That's
is. It's an
an
empty
excuse. That's
possession.
such a fucking excuse.
What are you
think
talking
How is that
about?
an excuse? They lost
An
the
absolute
game.
excuse. The fucking sloppy turnovers we saw last night were inexcusable.
Yeah.
That was not good enough. They're gonna get
That's
better
what
for
we're
that.
saying.
They choked. Yes, they choked. Like,
There's
you're
a
acting like
difference
choking's a
between
good
bro.
thing, and we're cutting them
Yes.
slack.
There's a difference
it's an
between
excuse
getting
is all I'm
better
saying.
What do
and
you
not
mean? They
being
lost
good
the
enough.
game because they choked. How is that an excuse?
Do they have to be better?
Yes.
Yes.
So
If they want to win an NBA championship, they have to be better. Yes.
So then they weren't good enough.
They got to be better.
They
but
weren't
there's
good
a
enough to win an
difference.
NBA championship. No, they were good enough to beat the Knicks. They choked.
There's a difference between getting better and being good enough.
I know
No, there's not.
Bro, yes,
because
there
getting
is.
better is closing a gap
The
on being
Warriors
good
got
enough.
better, but they were good enough. Like that doesn't make sense.
Jerry, that's
bro.
a completely different situation
How
where,
is
like,
it
you just
different?
lost the game.
How
And
is it
honestly,
different?
even in certain scenarios in that one, they didn't execute in scenarios. You weren't good enough
Right,
in that
then
scenario.
you're
When
not
you
gonna
don't
execute.
catch the ball on that final 3-point shot, you weren't good enough in that moment.
Yes, but
you
when-
have to be better. You have to be better either
Stuff is
executing that
gonna
play,
happen in
whatever it needs to
basketball,
be
bro.
to do.
That's
But
what you
listen,
understand.
when 3 games come down to a combined 6 points, it's not because this one team is so much better than the other one. It's because the other team choked down the stretch, didn't do the things they needed to do to win.
I don't even agree with that either.
How? You watch these games and you
Yes.
said
Did
the
you not
Knicks
watch
are
Jalen
obviously
Brunson
better
in these
than the
games?
Pistons. You watch these games all
Correct.
series, and you said the Knicks are obviously a better team than the Pistons.
Yes.
Based on what?
What the fuck do you mean based on what? Did you watch the game
It
last
came
night?
down. Yeah, they came down to the last shot.
What do you like? That's
It came
insane
down to the
me.
last. Easy. It was a game
Even the
winner.
game that we were mad about the referee officiating.
Yeah.
You came here on this show, the Knicks were just better.
Came down to the
Cade
last
needs
shot.
either another player or they need to execute better as a team.
They do, but they still could have won this series
Could've.
if they would have hit shots.
They would have been better.
They wouldn't have choked.
They would have been better.
Like,
Yes.
I don't know, man. When it comes down to the last shot of the game in 2 games at home, I'm not saying, oh, that other team is so much better than our guys. It's no, they
But
they
nobody's
executed.
saying that
When it
team
gets
is so
to that
much
point-
better than those other guys. I'm just saying you weren't good enough.
Easy, you're
That
literally
doesn't
saying
even
that.
define
You're literally
anything.
saying
Yeah,
that.
that's what you're saying.
No, I'm not. If I'm this team is way fucking better. You have no chance. That's what you're trying to make this seem like. I'm saying no. I'm saying you weren't good enough. You didn't rise to the challenge. Come back, be better next year.
So you choked.
You can get
No,
better
you
next
didn't.
year,
You
bro.
weren't good
Like
enough.
all you did was choke.
Not rising to the challenge down the stretch when you have the lead 7
That's
points
not
in 2
choking.
minutes. That is the definition
Listen
of
up,
choking.
That is not choking. Choking would be if you were the favorite in this series. You were the odds-on favorite. Everyone knew you were about to win this fucking series. Like it's a wrap, and then you fumbled it away and you lost it. That's
were the
choking.
favorites
We
to win
weren't
the
the favorite
game.
in this series. There were no realistic expectations beyond fans that the Pistons were to win this series.
And you
They
watched
had
all
moments
these
in this
games,
series.
and you still
They're
felt
competitive
that.
in this series. They weren't. The odds were against them. They weren't good enough, and it was proven on the court.
They had a 93% probability of winning last night. That is choking. You lose that game, that is choking.
Whatever. It's being not good enough. You didn't execute.
Down the stretch when you had
All
the
right,
lead.
we're
That
talking
is
in
the
circles.
definition
I'm
of
just going to
choking.
agree to disagree. Like, if you think this team was good enough to fucking go out there and do all the shit, there was no need. Like, no one had to grow. No one had to be better. You thought everyone was, like, set, fucking perfect, okie dokie. You're absolutely out of your fucking
It was
mind.
a winnable series.
But I'll agree to disagree.
It was a
Easy.
winnable series.
Did your expectations change after game
No.
2 when
No, they
this
did
series
not.
went 1-1
No,
going to
every
LCS?
single
What are you
fourth
talking
quarter,
about?
Jalen Brunson went out there, broken ankle or not, and hung his fucking nuts on you. Every single time.
And
Every
we turned
single
the
one of
ball
those
over
games, the
multiple
Detroit
times in
Pistons
the
were
fourth
up
quarter.
because you weren't good enough.
That-
When you're a young player
you're
in
not
the
making
NBA,
shots,
a young
that's
guard
one
in the NBA, coming to the NBA, and you know basketball, just Pistons out of it.
Yeah.
High turnovers, typically, right?
Yeah.
Do those go down throughout their career?
Yeah.
Are we a young team?
But normally players like Cade Cunningham and LeBron James, James Harden, those type of players that carry the rock so much stay at the
You're
same
absolutely
level of
correct. Who
turnovers
was
they're
number
at.
1 in the league this year?
James Harden, I think.
I think it's Cade Cunningham. And he is going to get better from that. It's still going to be up there. It's still be amongst like everybody else because he's a primary ball handler for sure. But the number is going to decrease as he gets better, as he gets more experience. Because the thing with Cade, and I love him to death, some of those turnovers are fucking bad turnovers.
I just had
inexcusable, non-forced turnovers. And it's not just Cade too. There's situations where Sarr threw the ball out of bounds last night. Like the situation
Cade was 1. Giannis was 2, Luka was 3, Steph was 4, Jaylen Brown 5, James Harden 6.
And Cade will get
Jokic
better.
6, and then Draymond.
Like, it's...
Draymond? That's crazy.
I don't know, man. Like, you want to make... I won't call it
It's not an excuse to say they choked. They lost the game. How is that an excuse?
It is an excuse.
How?
Because they weren't good enough in the moment, dude.
Easy. Not being good enough is them missing shots.
We 110%.
That's them
don't
missing
agree.
shots.
I will not see your guys' point on this at all.
The
I don't want to
turnovers.
talk about it no more because I'm just not going to convince me. Every time I hear it, I get frustrated because it sounds like a piss poor excuse.
I don't see how it's an excuse at all. I think you're getting angry over nothing.
I don't think no, because this team, there's fucking steps to take. You guys are acting like they came in here as fucking finals favorites.
Nobody said
the
that.
scenario at
Nobody
all.
said that.
They had to
They're
overcome
saying
a
You
better
think the Knicks
fucking
are a
team.
finals favorite? That team you just watched, are they a finals favorite?
They're
Hell
finals
no,
favorites
they're
over the
road
Detroit
kill.
Pistons.
They're
Yes.
a very beatable team.
What?
That's
Bro,
fine. That's
the
fine.
fact that
They're
nobody
finals
had
favorites over
any
the Detroit Pistons.
expectation for you
Factual
coming
statement.
in here, the fact that nobody had any expectation of you doing what you did when you came in here proves that you are good enough. The fact
You
that you
weren't good
changed
enough.
everybody's narrative of your team shows you that you are good enough.
Yeah,
You didn't change everybody's tough series.
When two of these
It's
games,
what we said going into this.
when 2 of these games are decided by the final shot, I'm not saying the team isn't good enough. I'm saying you choked, especially when you had a lead in the fourth quarter in both of those games.
And that's fine. I think that's an excuse.
I think
it's okay to look in the mirror and just say flat out this team choked. It's taking nothing away from
Yeah,
what they
no.
have accomplished this
Amazing
season.
season.
no one's saying it's taking anything away from the season.
I'm saying, because I know how it's going to get, viewed, but I am telling you, this team, they came so far, everything. Expectations change when you're in the series. You're watching it. That team is not flat out so much better than the Detroit Pistons. Just flat out. They're not.
So can I ask you this then? Particularly these two people. And I'll throw Cade in there too, actually. We'll make it 3.
They have better players.
Asar Thompson.
We have a better team.
You don't think Asar
That's
Thompson
what
will
I
ever
think.
get better than he is right now in his career?
Nobody's saying.
Nobody's
this,
saying-
dude. What?
No. Listen, do you think Asar Thompson won't get any better than he is right now in his career?
No. I think Asar Thompson's going to get better.
Okay, so there's levels to there's steps for him to make to get
Yes.
better as a player.
The
I
team
don't think
can
they're
get
arguing
better,
that.
but right now they were good enough to beat the Knicks. They just choked.
I disagree.
See,
Nobody's saying
we-
this
we go
team.
to break up.
Nobody's saying this team is a finished product or they're not going to get any better. We're just saying right now that was a beatable team. That was a winnable series,
series,
and you
yeah.
choked down the stretch of games, and that's what happened.
See, I just have a slightly different view. Like, I'm not with Easy on that part. What I'll say is that, again, I believe that defense is the identity of this team. And so I guess I just had expectations that this team is going to have these lulls offensively because you've seen it in every game. They have bad stretches where they just are not scoring. And I don't think it's necessarily choking. I think it's because the talent on this offense is not good enough. It just isn't.
on
So
your
like to
side.
me,
Yeah,
I have
dude,
a little
look at
bit
this
different.
guy, man.
I have a little bit different of a view. If you guys want to call it choking, again, I can't dispute that. 93% win probability, you should win that game. I just don't put it really on the offense. I put it more on the defense because that is this team's identity. That is where this team's strong point lies. That is what I thought gave them a chance to win this series and did give them a chance to win this series was the defense, not really the offense. So I guess I just had different expectations, lower
what it was.
expectations
And
of the
to
offense.
begin the series, that's what we had on the show too.
We all said they should have won that game last
You
night.
two
Everybody in
expected the
this
Detroit
room took the
Pistons to win
Pistons
the series.
You
Chris
took the
and I
Pistons to
didn't
win
expect
last
the
night.
Pistons. Yeah, I picked them because they're my fucking favorite team.
Okay, so now it doesn't matter.
And what do you mean I took them win last night? We didn't have a fucking show to talk about that. That's out of your ass.
We said two. Did we not say? Did I not say? Oh, I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx them because I picked them to lose the game before that. On Wednesday, when we said who's going to
Going
win that
back
game,
to the
everybody
very
said the
beginning of the
Pistons were
series,
going to
and
win.
this is where we're sitting right now, and that's why we disagree on these sayings, right? You guys had the expectation Detroit Pistons were going to win this series. You and Nick specifically. That's
for
why
sure
you're
did.
using the term choke because you thought it was in the bag. Like this is them all day. They got it.
should have been.
So to you guys, they choked. Me and Chris took the Knicks, and that's why we're saying they weren't. Good
So
enough.
you thought the Pistons were going to win last night. On Wednesday, you said that the Pistons are going to win
I'm
last
gonna
night.
fucking say yeah
Was-
because I
was
want them
that-
to go to 7.
Was that a choke then?
No.
Because you had the expectations for them to win.
But it's not always.
So then your argument's
loss.
I didn't have the expectation for
Let
them
me
to win.
just
But
say,
you
every
picked them
loss
to win
isn't
on
a
your favorite
choke,
team.
though. Every loss isn't a choke, though. I got it.
So you can't be
say that.
subjective with your takes?
Swinny, they did not choke.
Yes,
they were not
they
the
did.
favorite.
Yes,
a
they
choke
did.
is fumbling in the fucking moment.
They did fumble.
They
Game
weren't
3, they
good
did
enough.
not choke. Hear me out. Game 3, they didn't choke. Game 4, they did. And Game 6, they did. At home, both games, late in the fourth quarter, they were up.
You were not
They
the
turned
favorite in the
ball
series. You
over.
cannot choke. Plain and fucking simple.
God.
If you are the favorite to win, then you choked. Because
That
you
is
were supposed to
ridiculous.
win the series. You had it in the bag. And
That's
again,
crazy.
I'm done arguing it. It comes down to what your expectations
It's the
were.
way the
I
series
told you
played
guys before
out.
the series began, your expectations were a little too high.
It's the way
We're
the
a little
series
too high.
played out, Easy. You picked the Pistons to win the last game. Last game,
You keep. All right, find that tape. Don't say that till we find that tape.
you picked the Pistons to
I
win
picked
the
the
last
fucking
game.
Knicks to win the damn series.
Okay, but the last game is what I'm talking about right now.
But we don't-
Listen,
let's
just
have the
let me-
conversation.
Let
All
me
right,
say
all
this. Right now, the last game I'm talking about, we all picked the Pistons to win that game at
No,
home.
you keep saying that. No.
The Pistons had a
need a
lead.
fucking show.
The Pistons had a 7-point lead with 2 minutes left. They had a 93% probability to win that game. They lost. What do you call that?
They lost the game.
You call it a choke, dude.
At
You
any
call
given,
it a fucking
at
choke.
any given moment, we played the win probability shit. We talked.
You
Detroit
just-
Lions.
you just
can play that at any given moment of a fucking game. They no.
You just
The
explained
reality
that if
is
you are
they
favorite-
weren't supposed to win this series. There weren't a real expectation other than fans they were going to win this series, and they didn't. That's not a choke.
You just said that if you're favored to win, that you
If you
it's a
could pick a
choke.
fucking single point in the
Favored to
game,
win the
but that's
game.
the reality of the
They're
situation was they
favorites to win
weren't.
the game, and they
on
lost
the books
game.
last
That
night at
is a
home.
choke.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what you said.
Ultimately, in this series, it was plus 450 for the Detroit Pistons to win. That's not choking, guys. But again, we obviously disagree. I don't want to argue it because every time I hear it, and I love all you guys, I think it's a fucking excuse.
I don't understand.
I think
how
you're
that
the
could be
one
an
making
excuse.
excuses. You're
How
not.
am I making an excuse?
You're
that
not
that was my
holding them
expectation
accountable,
going into
Easy.
this. I am the only one holding them accountable
No!
because I'm saying they weren't good enough.
So you're-
I am quite literally the only person holding them accountable.
So you think they
For Christ's
should?
sakes.
You think they shouldn't have won that game?
That's crazy.
Going into that game, you think they shouldn't have won? They weren't going to win.
I don't think the expectations were. In
I think they should have won that game. The writing was on the wall. They should have won that game, and they choked it away.
And again, we agree to disagree.